You can even like, yeah, you can record it now.
Oh, I mean, we can cut whenever, so it's all good.
Yeah, I like the little conversation before
Yes.
it starts. So yeah, let's see what this opening sounds like.
Okay.
All right. Welcome
To
the
facial
recognition
comedy.
comedy
Comedy. Are you still going? This bitch has been
Podcast.
doing yoga.
I could have gone longer, but that would have been really annoying to the
just
listeners. Oh, I should
started
have gone full
laughing.
Andy Kaufman. I should have gone full Andy
Yeah.
Kaufman. Okay.
I'm Pallavi Ganalin.
Yeah, you are. And I'm Fizaa Dasani.
And we're just doing a twosome today.
Yeah, man. We got, so it's going to be a practice in intimacy.
Yeah. We're going to get to...
You know, have some real conversation in here.
Zahra's taking a day for her.
Yeah, man, good for
A
her.
well-deserved day.
Good for her, man.
She's been working overtime.
And we can get into that later, because into the mental health stuff and
Yeah.
the rat race shit, man. But I think there were a few things we wanted to talk about, like current events. There's a lot going on right now. There's always a lot going on, but
we were talking about Epstein.
yeah, and Priyanka.
Yeah.
You know, let's get into the Priyanka stuff, because I'm not caught up on what's going on with Priyanka Chopra.
Okay, so this weekend was BeautyCon, and BeautyCon is this big convention, and as far as I can tell, everyone's a bad bitch there. I don't know, but there was an incident that occurred that was directed at Priyanka Chopra. She was on this panel or something. She was answering questions, and she is a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador. And she had tweeted a few months ago, I think, on February 26th, she tweeted a patriotic message, Jai Hind, in support of India, and then she hashtagged it with Indian Armed Forces.
So essentially advocating for nuclear war.
Well, that's how it was interpreted.
Okay, so that was the interpretation.
Yes, I think it happened during a time when there was a terror attack in Pulwama. I'm not sure exactly all the details about that. But basically, there was a Pakistani lady who was there and asked a question, but she, was given the mic, and she called Priyanka a hypocrite for being a UN Goodwill Ambassador, but also simultaneously tweeting this out because of the implications of nuclear war.
Well, also, it's just war. I mean, there has to be better methods of conflict resolution than physically hurting each other.
Yes.
And yeah, and then it's just also war is profitable. So it's I get it. Okay, I understand the hypocrisy now.
She, the woman who did this, she's at Spisha with 2 A's. Her name's Aisha Malik, and she started accusing. Her voice was very emotionally charged, and Priyanka was kind of is getting criticism because she was kind of condescending. She was like, "I'll wait for you to be done. Are you done, girl?" It was like, "Are you done?" And then she's like, "Whenever you're done venting, sorry, I didn't." And the Aisha responded with, "Sorry, I didn't realize that speaking on a humanitarian crisis was venting." And then she continued to. They took the mic away from her, so she continued to try to yell to say stuff.
Yeah.
And Priyanka was like, "Don't embarrass yourself, girl." She said,
she was being a mean girl. She wasn't trying to connect on a human. Maybe because was she attacked? Not attacked, but was she defensive?
Well, it seemed like a defense mechanism, but also she's on stage and she has a power to say something important. She said she was very patriotic, but she had a lot of Pakistani friends, which sounds very similar to I have a lot of black friends. So she got a lot of criticism based on that response because she had said we should be neighbors and love each other, but then she also was very disrespectful to this woman. And there were a lot of people that were like, "Why are you yelling at BeautyCon? It's a beauty convention." And it's where else is she going to get access to Priyanka? And because of her, this topic started trending on Twitter. So
well, that's important.
Brought
awareness
attention to it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think there's also a lot going on in India right now. Modi won, and he's a prime minister, and his party has kind of been in charge for a bit. And there's a lot of Hindu nationalism, so they're doing a lot to like kind of target Muslims in India, and like people aren't speaking out about it because there is so much like animosity between Hindus and Muslims like going back in history.
You know, like my dad always used to tell me, my dad grew up in Bombay, that like Muslims, if you had to compare, like Muslims are like how black people, this in terms of status, are in America.
I think like
So I mean, obviously there's a vast difference in history, but I think what he was trying to say is, you know, Muslims are sort of oppressed.
yeah, I think it's hard to make that comparison just because
I wouldn't have made that comparison.
Yeah, I don't think that's a proper comparison just because I think I don't know all the details, but I do know
it's a
like
little reductive, but
millions
I
on
understand the
both
point.
sides, like I'm afraid to say both sides, were like killed. But at this point, Muslims are a minority in India, and their history is being erased because of this like Hindu nationalist agenda.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous, and like people do need to speak up because Modi is just being like a complete he's just completely ignoring the plight of the Muslims in India. And he also
So that's like, you know, that's going to empower terrorism
Yeah.
against Muslims
Yes.
who, you know, have been, you know, targeted. So
Yeah, they're
that's-
definitely like the way they're treating Muslims in India right now is not good. They also like recently I was looking up, there's a move in Kashmir that they've made. There was when Kashmir agreed, when Pakistan and India separated,
Yeah.
when partition happened in 1947, a lot of Muslims moved to Pakistan, and like a bunch of Hindus moved down to India, and then Kashmir was like in between them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like torn, like people didn't know what to do with the state, and the state of Kashmir said they would go to India. But they had like these requirements. I think it was called Article 370.
Well, there's also still, I mean, there was a lot of strife in the area because people in Pakistan felt ownership for some parts, which makes sense. I mean, like, you know, to suddenly draw lines, that is going to be disruptive for people who live in these areas.
Yes.
But so they were supposed to have some sort of autonomy because of this.
In Article 370, the Kashmiri government they were supposed to uphold the Indian government was supposed to absorb Kashmir, but also uphold Article 370, which gave Kashmir some independence. I think only like Kashmiris were allowed to live there and own land and stuff. It basically like allowed them an autonomy within a country. And that's how they decided to agree to be in India. And then they like abolished it basically this year, pretty recently. And like there's nothing.
And what was the motive behind that?
Dude, I don't know. Like Modi is not is not a good leader. Like he's just like he's gotten a lot of criticism. There are a lot of outspoken comedians.
You know, there's a lot of questionable leadership, I think, going around in the world.
Yeah, there's
forever.
But I think especially now, like Boris Yeltsin. Why am I saying Yeltsin? What's his name? Boris Johnson.
Who's Boris Johnson?
He's the new
What
PM
did I miss?
in England. And then the Filipino I can't keep track of this. The Filipino dictator who's like killing people who use drugs. Yeah, it's Boris Johnson. He's like British Trump, basically.
Constant chaos.
So it's like there's a lot of like seeming or actual dictatorships in the world right now that are rolling back human rights.
Yeah,
and it's
I mean,
very disturbing.
I think, you know, these rich men just want to go back to that time of imperialism where they can sit at a table and smoke fucking cigars and decide what they want to do with everyone else.
Yeah, people's lives.
But this is at a global level now. I mean, not that England didn't have that at one point, but, you know, its technology's different.
But they're also like a lot of them are just like also very dumb. So it's it's like dumb plus misogyny plus xenophobia
equals danger
plus power. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and power too. Oh.
Yeah. But going back to Priyanka, like this would have been a really great time for her to instead of being like, yo, I got Pakistani friends, don't embarrass yourself, for her to be like, yeah, this is a severe issue. People's lives are at stake. Like, I want to be a goodwill ambassador and advocate for peace.
That would definitely have been the, you know, quote unquote right answer. I just think in the moment she didn't have the capacity to, you know, like, so which makes it questionable.
She's an ambassador.
Well, that's the issue then. Then that becomes an issue with, I think, the UN of like, why are you, I mean, although it is bringing attention regardless. So it's just like, well, what is the role of UN ambassadorship?
But it's not. She didn't bring
Is it
attention
celebrity?
to it. Somebody else held her accountable.
Yeah, I mean, it just happened, but it's...
Yeah. Yeah, I think
is
a
that
lot
the
of
point?
it is celebrity.
So
There are
I
a lot
think-
of like
yeah.
celebrity whatever, but I think
Maybe she should have been more educated. Maybe she should have had more empathy or compassion because she's a person with a platform. She's a famous celebrity.
there's now a change.org
So I can-
petition to take away her ambassadorship.
I mean, I think maybe instead of that, maybe encourage her to, if she takes it seriously, educate herself on it. So she knows what's going on. She knows she's not. Maybe she didn't even realize she was making a conflicting statement, which in itself is an issue. You know, I can see how people would be concerned, like, oh, she's representing the UN, but that speaks sort of to the UN, right?
Yeah, if
What
you,
are they seeking in these celebrity ambassadors?
It's got to be more than celebrity. Like you have to be like well versed in it, and you have to like advocate for something.
It's not a good look to be an ambassador and not be able to, you know, have a proper response. But I think, like, for them, maybe the UN's just assigning it to people because they have a platform and it just gets, you know,
Yeah.
whatever agenda they want out.
And people definitely make mistakes. I think I want to see.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like she made a mistake, and I don't want to judge her, but
I
like,
just-
yeah, she was bitchy. She was kind of bitchy
She
to that
was
woman.
very bitchy,
and
and
that's
and
not-
she just kind of
that's
like
mean
moved on.
girlish.
Yeah, she just kind of moved on. Like, I feel like it went like it wasn't just a mistake. It like spoke to her personality and how she deals with disagreement, and I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah.
like, that sucks.
Well, I mean, did the woman in the audience who spoke up, did she call her a hypocrite?
Yeah,
hypocrite?
she called her a hypocrite.
Was that like the first sentence? Like, you're a hypocrite?
that was very early on. It was very emotionally charged.
So
but like,
yeah, I think
but she's not a UN ambassador.
yeah. Well,
Like,
you know, the defenses came up. We're all human, but yeah, like obviously, I think it might be. I mean, if I were in her position, I would get educated on the subject and, you know, have a more composed response.
That is so funny. There's all these sites are talking about how like bad her response was, and then this NDTV
Too much pressure on celebrity. That's the thing.
All
is we
India,
have to,
this NDTV All India site was like she answered very calmly.
in India. Oh, for the.
It's so funny how you can immediately see on Saturday, Miss Chopra responded to the woman without losing her calm. Like it's. Yeah, her full response was, I have many, many friends from Pakistan and I'm from India. War is not something I'm really fond of, but I am patriotic. So I'm sorry if I hurt sentiments to people who do love me and have loved me. But I think that all of us have a sort of middle ground that we all have to walk, just like you probably do as well. The way you came at me right now, girl, don't yell. We're all here for love.
So I think it's just maybe it sounds like there was a breakdown in communication, because I don't think Priyanka Chopra gets it.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think she gets that war is kind of evil.
I think, well, if you're going to have like a celebrity, right, it's a catch-22. You're going to have like a celebrity be your ambassador, then that person needs to be grounded and to know like the effects of the suffering of war. But they're so surrounded by money. Like,
Yeah.
You have to stay grounded. Princess Diana visiting all the poor people, you know,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, it's just, you know, what is their selection process? That's what I'm curious. The UN selection process
Yeah.
for assigning
What if it's just a
ambassadorship.
pageant? Another like Miss India. It's all Miss India contestants.
I mean, look, I don't know. I think pageants are kind of creepy. I mean, no offense to whoever derives happiness from them or whatever, but
well,
like,
like
it's-
modeling is a thing. You do modeling.
yeah, I mean, I did it for money.
Yeah, they do too. They have like
I
scholarships
get it.
and shit.
Yeah, so I get it.
Yeah.
It's just like I think of people like Donald Trump, like just sort of
It's so
presenting these women in swimsuits, you know. And I always thought that was kind of weird because it's just like are there male pageants? Like, are they competing against each other to be like
gross. I
this?
think bodybuilders is more like for men that's more popular, and for women pageants is. But I don't know if there's like a male.
I wonder if there's a way to conflate it too, because it's still like that's sort of like a sport. Bodybuilding is sort of a sport. I know women who do it. And like again, you know, pageants are fun. I think I did my dorm had a pageant in college, and I actually won that shit. That was weird.
Hey, girl,
I was Miss Mahoney.
what did you have to do for it?
I think like we just had to wear like a dress and then answer some questions, and I was like good on my feet that night. So,
Nice.
you know, I don't know. I just said the right thing. And also, like, you know, I think anytime I had a platform, I tried to like incorporate comedy into it. So maybe there was some of that. But I mean, it's a freaking pageant in a dorm,
Yeah.
you know. But like, yeah, even then, it's so like, you know, I don't know. I think like I don't want to judge it. But I'm in a place where competition. I'm not really in that headspace. Like the only person I'd like to compete with is myself. That just
That's
feels
smart.
healthier for me.
I have an issue with comparison.
I think I do too, and that's why I have to like rewire myself. That and a lot of that came from childhood because my parents were always like, "Well, the Shaw sisters are doing an internship at Harvard," and like we're in middle school, so you know, and it's just like, what do the Shaw sisters have to do with us? You know,
Oh, yeah, there's always like a family that you get compared to. We had that too.
like or
My
so
parents
and
are still
so.
doing that.
So and so wanted to be an opera singer, but her dad's Chinese, and he insisted that she goes to med school instead. And that is a like, you know, so like there'd be stories like that, and it's like, oh, so I'm sorry, like she like didn't want her dreams, and or like, you know, she for me, the narrative being told is like, you know, your dreams, it's not worth following your dreams. It's too risky. You go be a doctor.
Yeah. Just a side note, I was trying to look up like the Goodwill Ambassador thing.
Yeah.
I think you can start locally
Yeah.
in your communities and then like grow from there. There's like a way to do it.
I mean, I'll just make like an assumption. She's famous. She's a celebrity,
Yeah.
and you know there's
Like
there's value in that.
Danae Guerrera from Black Panther, Nicole Kidman, Emma Watson, they're all Goodwill ambassadors.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's risky to be a good. Now we know it's risky to be a Goodwill ambassador if you don't know what that means. You know,
Or
so
if
that's.
it-
I think it's a lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
like,
luck being a Goodwill ambassador, listeners.
but like, look, we're in like, you know, entertainment. So that's the thing is we're human. We're not going to be on all the time or expect. Like she was at BeautyCon. I don't think she was expecting that either. So it's like, you know,
I don't know. I've
even
just seen,
I didn't love her response either, and I thought it was bitchy. But like, also she's human, and like, she wasn't expecting that probably.
she should. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like,
and that's the thing is there's so
she's-
much pressure on like
but
people in our.
her whole
profession.
her profession, right? Like, I don't think celebrities shouldn't get a pass because it's like high pressure, paparazzi. Like, you cannot imagine what your life is when there are a fuck ton of trolls. Like, you can never.
And you're
expect
probably
it
not
until you're into it.
sleeping if you're hustling and
Yes,
working hard, and you're
but
probably, you know, like it's
Given the brand that she's built up, it was like kind of like not out of character, but out of brand or whatever. And then also like she's answering questions from the audience. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was an unkind response. It wasn't like there was no leveling or attempt at leveling. She didn't, you know, she wasn't the, so to speak, like the bigger person.
Yeah,
Or
it felt-
a bigger,
it
I
felt
don't like
pretty-
that term, but
felt pretty fake.
yeah.
Um,
Get over it, girl. What's the problem?
yeah,
Like, sort of, yeah, brushing off
yeah.
real concerns.
But it's good that it's trending. Wait, what else were we talking about?
I mean, awareness, that's huge. I mean, the
Epstein.
Epstein stuff is wild. I mean, I think now, is it like everyone's suspicious about what's going on, or have we? They were saying like I think the official story is they were understaffed, and you know he
Killed himself.
Yeah, he was able
Jeffrey
to.
Epstein, billionaire pedophile, running children's sex rings, ties to a bunch of other famous people.
And that's where I
killed
think the
himself
motive.
in prison. Yeah, go ahead.
So the ties to all the famous people, I think he had a lot of blackmail. I think he kept a lot of evidence. CP is very serious and child, you know, sex trafficking, and you know they have motive. Rich people have motive and the ability to do things people with less money have. You know, so
Yeah.
they have motive to kill him. So some people think he was offed.
He was placed on temporary suicide watch after he was found in his jail cell on July 23rd with marks on his neck, but he was not on suicide watch when he killed himself. Allegedly.
Oh, he was not.
No. Suicide watch only lasts 1 or 2 days. No.
Oh wow.
Someone's Jack Donson, a former correctional treatment specialist for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, said, "I've never seen in my entire career a suicide watch lasting more than a week."
I mean, he's such a high-profile case. You'd think they'd have someone like check on him every once in a while. Like, killing yourself is not easy. So to kill yourself in a jail cell, like, what did he do? Do we know?
I think he hung himself.
With what?
Let me see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to freak out.
I'll find the
But
facts.
yeah, it's, and it's horrific. And I think a lot of the survivors are angry that, they couldn't face him in court. And I've never been in that position, like, I don't believe in the death penalty, but to be on the other side of that, I haven't lost someone, thank God, to, like, a horrific murder or something, but, like, I can understand. I don't know what that's like to sort of need that other person to die or pay for it, but I get it on a smaller scale. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, some people, I feel like justice isn't served, and he got out easy. He sort of escaped.
I feel like a lot of the guy from Glee killed himself. Aaron Hernandez killed, like, a lot of these, like, high profile, like, fucked. Aaron Hernandez, like, it wasn't child trafficking or anything, but the other two it was like child porn, pedophiles. That shit, like, a lot of times it seems like they're just so miserable because, like, I've always said this, like, I thank God, like, very frequently that I am not a pedophile because it's like, you're just, like, that's a thing that people have, and
It's
sure
a
they
wiring.
don't want to have it.
So I always thought about that too, and that's the thing, is we live in a society that doesn't really jump to empathy. And that's the thing, is if it's, if it is, like, what if it is a health condition? What if pedophilia is a health condition?
I should look into, like, the wiring stuff of it. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure but there's, if you're, like, a therapist, like, I listened to this, like, NPR thing about this, it had this interview with this kid who, like, disguised his voice. And he had an attraction he watched, like, child porn when he was a kid. And then he kept getting older and was still watching child porn. And he was like, this is not right. Like, once he realized that those kids were being hurt, he was like, oh, this isn't good. And he told his mom he told his mom he needed a therapist. And he went to a therapist and he told the therapist, and the therapist told his mom. And it was really hard for his mom to hear. And he ended up, like, having a really hard time finding a therapist that was willing to take a risk on him, because when therapists have patients like these, then they have to, like, make sure that their patients don't fucking fuck a kid and then murder it. You know what I mean?
So
like,
there is some responsibility
that
they have.
Accountability there. I'm not sure, like, what it is, or it's at least.
I thought it was to report if they hear of a crime. I think that is
right, but, like,
all crimes, or
I don't know, but it's like plans to hurt yourself or others, right? So if you're a pedophile and you have an attraction, I'm not sure what the rules are there. But basically, he didn't find much support. He couldn't find someone that would, like, help him for very long, at least. So he started a support group online that was, like, anonymous, and it was for people who had those urges but never did and never will. And, like, people would try to, like, come into it and try to, like, be like, yeah, but don't you want to? And he would be like, get out of the group. Like, like, because it was a support group for people who had those urges, but, like, would never, like, hurt somebody else, because he was aware of, like, the pain it caused people.
Yeah, so they understood the rerepercussions, and they didn't want to act.
And they didn't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
So
well, it's just like the whole thing about being human or being an adult is being able to not act on every impulse.
Yeah, and, like, knowing that your actions, like, could cause so much damage, and, like, willing to sacrifice your wants so that other people aren't hurt. Like, it's like the same. It's rape. Like, it's like, not raping somebody. Like, I don't know. There's Yeah,
because I mean, I used to, like, years ago, watch a lot of Law and Order SVU. Dark time in my life.
Everyone has.
Yeah, I mean,
how's that show still running and people don't watch? It's
Chris Maloney's moved on.
No, but Ice-T's been there for, like, 20 something years.
That's a good check.
Yeah,
that is a great check. His family's good forever. But, like, so one of the perspectives from SVU is about victims that are predominantly women or children and of sex crimes. And there was a pedophile episode, and one pedophile's perspective.
Wait. Hold on. In the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit.
Dun dun dun.
No, it's just two.
Dun dun. Damn, it's been a while.
I know.
That's our version.
Produced
This is like
by
the
Dick Wolf.
yeah, the Bizarro world. Dun dun dun. There's three. There's three. Have you guys heard of the Mandela effect? There's three. Bernstein Bears. It's spelled with an A. Okay, so like their perspective, the pedophile's perspective is like, okay, well, you know how homosexuality was considered a mental illness.
Yeah.
Well, so there, but the different thing is there's a difference between consenting adults and traumatizing a child. Obviously, there's a
babies.
huge
Yeah.
difference. So. But then also, you know, my grandmother was married at 14.
Both of
So-
my grandmothers were married at 14.
So what's the
14
so
and 15.
culturally, what are the cultural, you know, standards? So it's in this society, there's no tolerance, or you know, from you know mainstream perspective, no tolerance of child pornography and pedophilia.
And I agree with it.
Yeah,
Like,
of
I feel like
course.
those cultures that accept, I feel like it was accepted in all cultures at some point. So I don't feel like it says like which culture is better or worse than another. But yeah, like it does a lot of damage to children. They're fucking children.
And we understand now the
now we
the effects and
So it's like there's got to be like empathy and somewhere for these people to go. That's why I always say like whenever you like
without
kick
being
a rapist,
without
out
being
of a,
thrown into the jails. Like if someone's saying, I want help to not do this, we need to not crucify them for their wiring, because that then they're not going to come out.
they're not gonna like be able to ask. They don't ask for help.
If we immediately vilify them, how they have no option. So like
they're the ones that get like I don't know if this is true, but the stereotype of them getting attacked in prison because
Yeah.
everybody protects children.
yeah, I mean rapists get it really hard in prison, and child rapists would get it worse.
Yeah.
I know, because I know a sociopath who's a rapist, and he was. we were having a photo taken, and I'm just
Photo
like, okay,
shoot.
let me try
You know,
to.
a sociopath
you know.
who is a rapist, and we're posing. We're
Yeah.
posing.
All right.
And what about this?
Good angle, good angle. You got some? Okay, I feel like my eyes are weird, but just you should get one when I'm not paying
Photoshop some
attention.
googly eyes over us, please.
All
Shout
right.
out to Haley.
Anyway, he said
Haley,
he didn't
our
want to get
audio
raped in
engineer.
prison. He was crying about he's like, I don't want to go to prison because I'll get raped. So
And he was a rapist.
yeah, I mean, maybe he might still be. I don't know.
Ugh.
You know how what happens to rich people.
People are
When they
really
rape, they
people.
get away
Evil
with it.
people are really afraid that other people would do the same shit to them that they've done to other people.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it's I don't like diagnosing people or labeling people, but because language is approximate. I don't like limiting behavior, but I do think that I knew a very dangerous person, and if I were to call someone a sociopath, that would be this individual.
Yeah.
And I won't go into names just because it's like I think there's some ongoing legal stuff, but it is very strange to know someone who does not have the capacity for empathy, but has a level of self-awareness where they know how destructive they are and continue. And that's one thing, like, okay, you turn out to be like a crazed maniac, but like this is a person who has power and agency, is the second generation, you know, rich person who basically had success shoved down his throat, even though he's, a psychopath.
We were talking about this yesterday a little bit
Yeah.
about how like we can transition into the rat race from this, because like imagine never having to worry about money.
Yeah.
Or like never having to worry about like that type of success, and just like how much spare time to do whatever you wanted. Granted, we have ambition, so we would still do stuff that we like cared about.
Yeah.
But like not worrying about failure.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the thing is placement and is half the battle, 80% of the battle. Like most people spend their whole careers trying to get in front of the right person, whereas this person was presented to the top of the top. And yeah, you have to have the goods. And I will say, I'm not going to say this is a person who couldn't deliver, but he definitely wasn't the best option. If you were to look at everyone equally, he wouldn't have probably been the one to get the job
Success is-
for all of the jobs he's gotten.
Yeah, I'm starting to learn there's a total difference between like success and talent and like opportunity and everything like that. Like I'm starting to see like that's something that I need to work on in the entertainment industry is like, you know, making the right connections and like having and like being a go-getter with people. Because people think that I talk to everybody, and I do, but I also like I don't know industry people, you know, like I don't know like people
I think you're
after
great
shows.
at networking.
I don't know like
And you
I
focus, so now you have like a goal, like, okay, I want to connect with sort of these people.
I definitely feel like more lost in that way, but I'm starting to be aware that like I'm starting to see like how people are good at it and how people are great at the business side. I'm very
Yeah.
organized. I have goals and I like care about like having my shit together, but simultaneously like there are a lot of people that are exposed to people in the entertainment industry from when they're kids and stuff, and that does provide them with access that we
It's a
don't
whole
have
model.
immediately.
It's your role model. You're basically modeled into sort of this lifestyle. So that's an incredible privilege. All the contacts, an incredible privilege. Who loves you more than your parents?
Yeah.
It's so I'm not hating on like people being dealt with great cards. It's just I think I always like to check privilege.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, so many people because oftentimes when I meet people with privilege, I think and this includes the guy I was talking about earlier, they have their own resentment because they know people are going to call nepotism. So they have their own chip
Yeah.
on the shoulder. And oftentimes they'll start, saying, well, if you were good, you'd be doing what I'm doing. There's no
Yeah.
acknowledgement of this sort of being born on third base.
Because that's the life they've known.
Yeah, and I understand like that has its own struggles or whatever, but it's just like those struggles, like like from the perspective of people who are not connected to the industry at all, it's just like we can appreciate what an advantage that is. I think.
Yeah. There's like a huge safety net there. But yeah, we were talking about the rat race, and we were talking about like you and I work a lot, and sometimes we don't let our brains like breathe and live. And sometimes we're both up at 5 a.m. like giving each other tasks to do, and then we have to tell each other to slow the fuck down.
Yeah,
And that's been happening.
I think a lot, and we talked about this a little bit, but a lot of my self-worth, I've been conditioned for it to be derived from what I do instead of who I inherently am, which is a person who was born and as a result, deserves, has value, just has value because of that. But like, that's not what I was taught. So, and also one way of coping, like with my psychic pain, is working. I'm kind of a
Yes.
workaholic. It's a way to cope.
Yes.
But then like when I'm doing that, parts of my life fall apart, like because I'm neglecting self-care. So I'm like, well, I need to stay up. So I'm not sleeping, but then like to stay up, I'm eating sugar or I'm drinking caffeine
Yep.
or I'm taking Adderall or I'm doing these things. So I'm like fucking up my body further and further, stretching myself thin. And you said something to me that stuck out. It's just like the quality of work that I do when I'm happy and feeling like, more centered and balanced is going to be better than the work I do when I'm stretched thin.
Yeah.
That stuck with me.
Yeah, use what you can to motivate you to take care of yourself better.
Yeah.
I also struggle with identity of who I am versus what I do. I still haven't figured it out, but I started to think about it in the context of like rescue animals. And it's like I got my dog when he was 14 and his owners gave him up, and I get very emotional about animals. We've like talked about this.
Yeah.
And I have this innate thing of like, well, these animals like deserve to like live good lives despite what humanity has done to them. Like
Yeah.
breeding them for their own purposes, euthanizing 2.5 to 3 million of them a year, cats and dogs, like just because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
And wanting like purebreds and whatever. And I was like, if I think of us in the context of rescue animals
Yeah.
and don't assign like because I assign a lot of like negative things to people's intentions and all of that stuff, but we are also just animals, and we like were born into this world without asking for it.
Yeah.
And like most of us are just trying our best to like survive, and we make mistakes, and my dog pees on the ground but he can't see, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're all
He's not
just
doing it to spite you.
He's not doing it to spite me. He's an old doggy. He can't help it, and we all make mistakes. So if I like, this is such a like a white thing to do, but if I view us in terms of like rescue animals. I'm like, okay, like we deserve to be here.
Yeah.
That I can kind of see that a little bit because we are here, you know?
And I love that because I think, like, even when I disagree with someone, like, vehemently, like, it's, like, from a broader perspective, I'm like, I'm glad I'm glad there is a different perspective out there because I feel like every single perspective has value. I mean, it can be dangerous. And, of course, like, you know, from a person who lives in society, you know, I will have sort of a different thing because we have to have some sort of accountability to function as a team.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've been in Hollywood for a long time, and like I was one of those people who moved here, didn't have any connections, but I was like, yeah, I'll be a millionaire and famous in 2 years.
Really?
And someone told me when I was very young, like, yeah, I mean, I think I might have said this, an overnight success takes 10 years here.
You've been telling me that, yeah.
And
that stuck with me.
Yeah, and it stuck with me too when he said that to me because it seems so horrific. Because, like, you know, when we're like young and like super young in our 20s, like maybe we have like a teenage listener who's like super young. How old are these bitches?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You don't know. I had to like learn from the ground up. And I actually don't mind that because, like, Nipsey Hussle, have you read the Hustlenomics?
No, not yet. Oh, yeah, I did.
Tony Baker posts it every day. Shout out to Tony Baker, comedian, very funny. He posts every day for a year. After Nipsey Hussle's death, he's posting Nipsey Hussle's Hustlenomics. And it's basically financial advice or for his community. And one of them is that if you skip steps, you miss stuff.
Yeah.
Along, you know, so you're going to, you know, as you work your way up, if you miss important steps, it's going to, you know, affect maybe the skill level. I'm probably butchering what it says, but check it out.
I need to fucking check myself a lot because my brain's weird and like messed up, and I'm in therapy, and I have like a lot of things I'm trying to like change about myself and my mentality. If I had gotten fucking famous at 23, I don't know if I'd be dead by now, but something bad would have happened.
I think about that a lot.
Like, I'm glad.
I couldn't handle.
Maybe other people, very mature, young 20-year-olds I see out here. Very, like, stable, grateful, grounded. They're also, like, the crazy cases. But I know for me, like, I am not stable enough to handle that.
I think about that, too, and... Yeah, I mean, I could barely handle regular life, let alone having the pressures of an intense career and then throwing fame onto that and all this stuff. Like, the pressures of that, like, I don't know. Like, it would have been a mess.
I think, though, like, comedy is, like, a little bit, I don't know. I think comedy is kind of better because people take the wind out of your sails sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, I feel like comedians are more likely to be, like, blunt to your face than other people.
Yeah, it's a different community.
Yeah. But I've noticed, like, a lot of successful comedians are willing to, like, do my show. Or, like, you know, like, hang out with me. Or, like, add me, like, right away. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, they don't have that ego that I think I see with a lot of other fields. You know what I mean? Not to say, you know, we have our own problems, but...
I mean, I have no idea. I'm just, like, I don't even know how to sum up groups of people. Because it's just, like...
That's true.
You know, I know a lot of great people in comedy, and I know a lot of people in comedy that I would definitely have stronger boundaries with. You like how diplomatically I said that? That's a skill, dude.
Can I give a shout out?
Yeah.
I want to shout out Ambi Narula because she is a fan of ours, and she literally like tweeted half an hour ago. She spent the whole last day cleaning and listening and catching up to Facial Rec Comedy Podcast. Best way to spend her day. Heart.
Ew. We love you.
We love you. You're so supportive.
Let's shout out our Patreon.
I want to. She
too.
does. She's a co-founder of the Hysterics UMD comedy group. But yeah.
In Maryland?
Yeah.
Check them out. What's her handle?
At BambiAmbi313.
There it is.
There it is. We should do a shout out every time we do it.
Yeah.
If you guys spread the word on our podcast, we'll do a shout out.
Yeah, give us a really funny, fun, cool rating, or not just a review on iTunes, and we will read it.
Yeah, we'll read it.
We'll read it.
Even if well, okay, we will read ones that also might be more serious or whatever. Anything that catches our eye.
Yeah,
Just do it.
If it's dope.
Hell yeah.
we want to shout you out for your support. We really I think before pursuing work as an artist, I didn't understand sort of the importance of fans and supporters.
It's so important.
Because we don't have a blueprint. We're not working for someone necessarily. It's just we need the supporters of our art to be able to survive and ultimately thrive.
If you guys go to a comedy club and are like, we want to see Fizaa, we want to see her, bring her here.
That gives me work.
That gives her work. That gives me work. That gives if you guys are like, we want to see
food in
facial
my
recognition
mouth.
comedy. If you tweet at places and they'll want us there, and then we'll have connections. That's how a lot of stuff has happened. Is our fans and stuff have reached out to us and connected us with people, and that's how we've gotten this machine going.
Yeah. Big shout out to James Freeman.
Hey.
He got us in the OC. We did the Irvine Improv a couple times. Super fun. Yeah, I definitely want to shout out people who've been around for a while and just supported us.
Yeah.
But
it's dope.
Yeah, so we'll look up more stuff. You're faster on your phone than I am. I try to look at my screen as little as possible.
Also tag us and shit you want us to talk about. We'll do that. This is us troubleshooting the podcast on the podcast.
No, I like this. This is some real shit.
I like talking about stuff that happens weekly in our demographic and elsewhere. Our demographic is comedians and brown people.
That's our that
entertainment. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
Well, so we were talking about. I know we were talking about sociopaths and personality types, and pedophiles. This is a lovely episode.
I think we found the title to our episode.
But okay. Going to sociopaths, if there is a wiring there, even though they are a menace to society, are we open to looking for treatments for these personalities and I guess orientations?
I mean, that would be yeah, but I guess it would have to I think there are some sociopaths that are just good at companies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it presents itself differently. Also, sociopath is not a clinical term. There's psychopath and something else, but I think that falls under some umbrella of some other.
So I think the term I prefer is psychopath. What I mean is psychopath.
Yeah, I think there's different clinical things that are different things that are misconstrued as clinical diagnoses.
Okay, so there's this place called Hoffman Institute. It's a week-long healing retreat of transformation and development for people who feel stuck in one or more important areas of their life. It's apparently so the sociopath the psychopath that I encountered went to this. I think it's for celebrities. I think it's probably very expensive. And it didn't. I don't think it helped him. But yeah, that's where
that person went there.
I think so.
I wonder, I
think this is the place.
What about rapists? There was a TED Talk that had a rapist and his victim both giving the talk, and she had forgiven him. Haley is nodding, our audio engineer. She'd forgiven him, and it freaked me the fuck out, honestly, because they were they were doing it like Hassan Minaj. They were like, okay, I had done this bad thing, with their hands. Look up our YouTube. I'm doing a terrible impersonation. They're like, I had done this bad thing. I raped this bitch. And she was like, he did. And it was more emotional. It was more, but accurate kind of.
Well,
okay, Haley is backing me up on this.
They were sharing their perspective
story, and it was very emotional and everything, but I just couldn't take it seriously because she was up there. I guess all of the work they had done already emotionally, but the way that they were talking about it, I think it is important for people to hear, but I just couldn't take it in because they were just on their headsets, talking about how that rape happened.
Just they were so, I think, past it. The weight
it just
of
felt weird. I don't know.
I think that's beautiful, though.
I think it is very important to find healing, and to be able to do that with the person that hurt you is incredible.
And for that person to also grow and learn, because that's the thing is people make mistakes, and it's horrible and it's awful, and no one deserve. Well, I don't know.
The action doesn't necessarily make the person.
Yeah,
it depends.
It's difficult to be defined by one action.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the difference between, I think, human being and human doing. It's just like we did something, and that's going to...
This bitch brought it back around. Wow.
Yeah, full circle. Are we on a time budget right now? Do we have to... We're talking to... Oop. And that's when you want us to... Oh, okay.
We're just checking in with Haley because she's got a schedule.
Yeah, you know, I was late because I thought it started at 5.
We had miscommunication. Yeah, so I don't know. I have a hard time like forgiving people. It definitely takes me a while. I think I've forgiven the fuckboy that I've talked about before for most of it, except for the part where he like supported Predator. But other than that, I think I've like mostly forgiven him. Yeah, I mean, like, forgiveness, I think, is more for ourselves, so we can move on. And I don't think that's wrong to have a selfish motive because it's for the greater good of us all, right? None of you can see this, but we're at a table that's covered in a red tablecloth, and this is like our own red table talk. With Jada and Willow and Grandma, what's her name? Adrian, I think. It's like,
I only saw like 2 episodes.
Oh, man. Have you seen the one with the episode with Will Smith?
That's the one I watched.
You watched it?
Yeah.
It was so crazy. They like redefined their relationship, and they were like, the day that we like, it was the day what was it? The something dropped, the conditions dropped or something. That wasn't the word, but that's like how they redefined their partnership. That like blew my mind. It was, it's Red Table Talk. It's on Facebook. It's with Jada Pinkett Smith and her daughter and her mother, and they talk about everything.
I saw Willow in New York. We were getting brunch, and Willow was there.
What?
Oh, you weren't looking at my stories, my Insta stories.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, she was just getting brunch, and someone took a picture with her, and so I got a picture of
that person getting a picture.
Yeah.
So that person's now your Instagram famous.
Yeah.
On Visits Insta. That's cool. I think they're like, those kids are like wise beyond their years.
I agree.
I love Jaden. I love the shit that he's doing for like homeless people in Skid Row. He has like free vegan food for them. He's also trying to like deal with the Flint water crisis. I think that's like what the like celebrity should do. And when he did that, I was like, I know your dad's supporting your thing, but like, come on, Will. Let's get some other things going. Like, come on, everybody. But they're all like doing good shit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's always room for improvement, but yeah, I mean, that's shout out to them. That's really dope.
I do get kind of like, this is a judgmental thing, but I get kind of like sick of seeing like a lot of like the like, you know, celebrities with like a lot of cars or a lot of jewelry or a lot of clothes or like all of that stuff that like they don't like focus on philanthropy as much like that. Like, it's like, I get that they like a lot of them come from nothing, so it's like the first time they've had a lot of stuff, but I'm just like, come on, like, remember where you came from? Like,
yeah, I mean, I would hope get that perspective.
I would hope that I would be able to figure that out as I get, if I, you know.
I'm always just I'm so like, well, if it makes them happy and they're not hurting anyone, live your life, live your best life. But yeah, I get that. I wouldn't,
because so many people's problems could be solved with so little from them.
Oh, everyone can be fed on this. They're crazy people are starving.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But the thing is if they didn't have all those cars, that's not really going to affect, you know, necessarily. I mean, I guess that money could have gone to something else. But the thing is, if they got all those cars,
a lot of them fly on private jets.
Yeah, that's
like, and you know,
so
I'm not
choices
saying I know their lives, but I'm just saying like, I would hope that if anything happened with us, that like we were like still aware of everything. You know?
I mean, personally, I don't really care about material things. Most of my money goes towards like I think self-care and like wellness.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't care about stuff.
Yeah. I don't live in a real room. But
I
do try to like donate and stuff, and I think the thing that's like driving me crazy is that I used to like throughout my life since like high school, I'd always volunteered. And then, like, since I started comedy, this is the first time that I'm not doing something involving service. And I think that's kind of driven me a little crazy. Yeah, service is really healing. I used to work on Skid Row every once in a while, like feeding people who needed food. And it felt good. I used to, like, volunteer at prisons, go to women's prisons, and, like, we'd do, like, 12-step meetings there. And that was pretty dope. An all-women reboot of Prison. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Netflix. Right? Did you finish watching Orange is the New Black?
I can't watch that show. I think I watched one season somewhere in the middle.
Why can't you watch it?
I just keep losing interest.
Oh.
But I think it was good. Like the season I watched was really good. I think everyone's dope. I think I just for some reason I couldn't stay invested in the story. Maybe it's because at the time it was a little too light because it is sort of like light also.
Yeah, it's both dark and light.
So
like I think one year it was
I'm watching
nominated-
Handmaid's Tale right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm into.
I think one year it was nominated as a comedy and the next year was like a drama or vice versa. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Handmaid's Tale.
So the
I think
genre is more of like I think what I didn't click with.
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale. I watched like part of one episode and I couldn't watch it because it was too dark. I watched like a lot
very
of light
heavy.
shit because I'm just like stressed out all the time.
I don't know why I find comfort sometimes in these darker things. That's strange because it's just I don't know.
It's cathartic. You're feeling the feelings that you might have had throughout the day, but through this.
Yeah, you know, I
method.
think I am big on feeling feelings. Like, oh, so this
Yeah.
is so. Like, did you want to talk about? Do we have time to talk about depression a little bit?
We always have time to talk about depression.
Yay!
10
What-
minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes. Cool. That's basically what I was at. How much time do we have? So, like, I was feeling. Okay, I was feeling really down. I think, like, even just like a week ago, less than a week ago, and you know, I think a lot of it was like, okay, it was self-care and like also not being able to sort of to fully mourn like feelings I've had because I didn't feel like I had the space, the safe space to. So like I went to this little retreat and I literally just cried my ass off. Like I think I sort of it was a safe space so I could share without judgment. People weren't trying to like you know, quote unquote fix me, but I could sort of share like the sadness I was feeling, get it out. And then like this older woman, she let me literally cry on her shoulder, and that felt like being able to, you know, that was so healing. Because it's like, you know, it was that ugly cry that that like kind like you don't want to do when your roommates are home.
You have to run the shower while it's happening.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to do it in the shower. But we
That's great.
and it felt like doing it to like a mother figure, and like I felt so much lighter after that. And also like I've cut out 80-90% of my sugar intake, not drinking, exercising a lot more, eating better, and I feel great. And you know, like the show was really fun yesterday.
Yo, can we talk about Auntie?
Auntie, oh my God, please.
Lali Auntie. There was
Lalima, shout out to Lalima. We have
and
to
her
we have to
husband.
teach her how to use. I mean, maybe she. What am I talking about? She knows iTunes.
She also like
should-
she messaged us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And she's just the sweetest. She was a grandma basically. I don't know if she is an actual grandma, but she's got grandma vibes. And she South Indian. Her and her husband came to the show losing their shit laughing, and she just kept telling us how proud she was and how that people can be doctors and engineers and lawyers, but to have the gift of being able to make people laugh and make them happy is something special. And she came up on stage with us at the end of the show and told everyone, and it was just like this very beautiful moment. And I am always like incredibly touched when people in our demographic approve of what we're doing and like reward us for it and appreciate it.
I think a lot of us are craving that sort of parental warmth and approval.
Yeah.
And
For who we are.
Yeah, for who we are, exactly.
For who we are at
Not
our
what we
core. Like, yeah, and what, and like, and to, cause that's, like, I feel like on stage, a lot of us feel like we're who we are at our core.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we feel very, like, seen and heard, and like, to have her, it was all beautiful. Everything she said was beautiful. There were no buts. There were no, you should do this, you should do that. Like, she was like, I should have dressed up more. And like, I just want to be like, no,
Auntie, you're
amazing.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
You're perfect, exactly
And
how you are.
She told us they were like looking in their calendars to see if they could come to the next show. And she said she was going to tell her kids about it. And the fact that
They were laughing at our dick jokes.
They
I
were
could
laughing
never
at our-
imagine my like grandparents' age or parents' age laughing at my dick. Well, I don't know.
so enthusiastic.
So
about this.
enthusiastic.
And like, and she was like, to see, you know, our people up there made her, like, touched her and made her feel like emotionally, you know, like vulnerable and excited. And it was just, I don't know, it was a really beautiful moment. We might post it at some point because we have that on camera. And I was so
Dude.
glad we were able to capture it.
People
and
in
live
the
that.
audience, like I think a white guy said he was moved by it because he related to, I think, having to sort of go against the grain.
Yeah.
Or, so it was very like, it was really a deep moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was, people's eyes were watering and stuff. This was a comedy show. Look, everyone laughed their asses off. It was a really fun comedy show.
So sweet.
But like I think that was a beautiful way to end it.
Yeah.
We should let's West Side. We're gonna get you the video also. This is this is a moment. Shout out to West Side.
Speaking of,
Comedy.
we have a show next month at West Side on the 8th. It's gonna be dope. We also, and that's
September
at 9 p.m.
September 8th, 9 p.m., which is the second Sunday of the month, which is when we have our monthly show at West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica.
And then we also have our August 30th show at New York Comedy Club in New York, the Midtown Gramercy location. We're coming back 11:30 p.m. We're so excited to be back in New York. We want to sell this bitch out, so come.
Make sure to use promo code FRC for $10 off, and that's also how you support the artists, because those are the tickets that we're selling, are the ones that have the FRC code.
We get that money.
Yeah, support the arts.
Yeah, tell all your people. We also have our social media, which is facialrecognitioncomedy.com. That's our website. We have Facial Rec Comedy on Twitter, with Facial Recognition Comedy on Instagram and Facebook. We have our Patreon. We were talking about our Patreon.
We got a Patreon. We're gonna shout out. I think let's do our next episode. I think we're gonna shout out our Patreon friends and supporters.
Patreon.com/facialrecognitioncomedy. I'm Pallavi Ganalan, PALLAVIGUNALAN. That's my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, and my website.
Yeah, it is. Is that a no? I'm Fizaa Dasani, FizaaDasani.com, and at Fizaa Dasani, I'll spell it for you, FIZAADOSANI. Yes, that's one Z and two A's in my first name, and yes, that's an D-O instead of D-A in my last name. I don't know if that just made it more confusing.
We're fucking tagged in all of these pictures. Just go. You know how technology works. You're brown. I'm kidding. Not all of you are.
Yeah, I think we have a nice, diverse bunch, which I love. I love that.
Those audiences are honestly the best audiences for us. Just fully like mixed up audiences.
And well, I think they also get it, because the point is like, okay, diversity of perspective, like.
And it's fun to see
like
the
same person.
People watching each other laugh at different things.
Yeah, that is super funny. Yeah, because like sometimes, like when I'm watching another comic, sometimes I'll watch like the audience to see how they respond to stuff, and. Like one lady like would not laugh, but then she laughed for something I can't remember, and I was like, "That's so interesting." That like stone faced with this one unexpected thing, she just lost it.
It's so great.
I don't remember who was on stage or what the joke was, but it is fun to.
We also have our third co-host who isn't here today, Zahra Ali. She's really Zahra, Zahra on everything.
Yeah, she's taken a. Personal day, and I like that's so important. Like self-care, like taking those. I think for the first time in a long time, I took 2 nights off stand-up, and I made sure I went to bed early, ate properly, did all that self-care shit, and then like had so much fun like doing the show last night. So like,
did
go
not do
Zahra.
That. I worked super hard on Saturday. I barely slept, and I did not have as much fun as Fizaa doing the show. And I should have slept.
Yeah, I mean, you had a great set, but I get that. Like, because I've had, like, people say great set, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's
felt like trash, but Lalima made it all worth it at the end.
It was a good show.
It was great.
Everyone, top to bottom, was excellent. Shout out to Suba, Raja, Janjali, Faisal, who hosted, and Monrock, who dropped in for a great guest spot.
Yes.
Catch us every Tuesday. We're Facial Recognition Comedy. And are we out? Yeah, because our audio engineer has shit to do.
Fizaa, would you like to leave us with some last words?
Maybe
like
I'm going to do the last words.
Or something?
Yeah. You're enough exactly as you are in this moment.